Well, hello. Hello, my good friend Brad Krey. Good morning
Hello.
to ya. Good day to ya.
Good day.
Uh, thanks for joining us on the bridge. How fun. I feel like you and I met over the summer down in Santa Barbara, and maybe I mentioned this or not, but like I just told you, you're kind of coming in at the tail end of this limited series of the bridge, and I'm like so grateful we were able to find the time to do it because I love your voice in the space of education.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah.
Yeah,
And
stoked to be here. It was great seeing you over the summer, as it
yeah,
always is,
yeah,
to connect on all things education and
yep.
technology and humans
Mm-hmm.
and connections. And yeah, really excited to be here. And it's been fun to watch the bridge kind of get off the ground. So
Oh,
really fun.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Look at
cool.
that. We have a viewer. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, so tell us what your deal is. What you
yeah,
do.
yeah. Thanks. So I work for California State Parks. I'm here in California, in
Yeah.
San Diego, beautiful San Diego, California. And in California State Parks, which I've worked for since last century, I keep telling people.
Oh my God, that's the
Yeah,
best.
since last century, over spanning 4 decades now. Um, 4 different decades, not 40
Seriously?
years. Yeah, 4 different decades. I started working in the 90s for state
Wow.
parks. But yeah, so I work in our interpretation education division, which is supporting all of California state parks, which is the nation's largest state park system, in the outreach, education, and interpretation, which is kind of the park programming side of things. All things that for the public, and in particular, over the past 20 plus years, focusing on California's K-12 public education students and how they
Mm.
can get connected to California state parks. And so, yeah, it's kind of my jam. The big thing that we're known for is the PORTS program, which is Parks Online Resources for Teachers and Students. And that's a live video program. Some people call it a virtual field trip, although it's
Hmm.
really much more than that. It's a
Totally.
conversation. Yeah, conversation with our park staff. You'd call them a park ranger in a park with your classroom. So if you're teaching, fourth grade missions here in California, we actually have a live human person on the other end of a Zoom call to walk you through the California mission and help interpret and understand and converse about the stories that are held within those structures and on those sites in real time. So we do that. And the other flavor of the ports program is a live broadcast. So if you're not able to get one of those lucky sites, lucky schedules, events with your classroom, you can join up to 1,000 other classrooms and watch a live broadcast, just like a live television show. So yeah, that's our jam, and we've been doing that. This is our 21st year of doing
That
live.
blows my mind. Come on.
Yeah. People often,
21st
especially now,
year?
yeah, 21st year,
That's
2004 really was when we started.
wow.
Looked totally different then, obviously,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
How
yeah,
did it look back then? Like what
yeah,
was that?
yeah. So very complicated, costly. It was a little more costly. The technology was not mobile. We were using like satellite links sometimes. We were
Interesting.
using like, you know, point to point systems from a park to a school to get on the high speed network, which was a growing thing then.
Wow.
Um, One of the things that we do say is we were one of the reasons that like maybe internet got going in schools, because I have stories of my bosses
Yeah.
working within the state legislature and with executives at the California High Speed Network and the Digital California Project to say, hey, here's what we could use internet for in the classroom. And what we did is we showed people like a live park ranger from in the middle of remote Anza Borrego Desert and gave a 30-minute lesson on the geology and the paleontology of that specific area,
Oh my
saying,
gosh.
look, fifth or sixth grade, we're learning about paleontology. And sure, you could teach it out of a textbook, or you could have this park ranger here actually
Right.
showing you California based resources for California students and inspire them maybe to go visit or, go learn more locally at a park and
Yeah.
a place. So it looked like that back then. It was definitely more complicated. Um, Throughout the years, things got more mobile, more user friendly, easier to use,
Yeah.
teacher friendly, even, right?
Yeah.
As education technology kind of evolved, right?
Yep.
Um, and we call COVID really kind of our evolutionary event, like the meteor dinosaurs situation,
Right.
right? Where schools shut down and everybody went home and was supposed to learn, and we had all these people who were already doing remote stuff and coming to
Yeah.
work. And so we worked with our partner, Zoom Video Communications, to turn on all of the what we now know as a webinar feature.
Mm.
And within a week, we were broadcasting live educational content for people learning from home. If everybody went home on Friday, we were like up and running on like Thursday of the next week.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we did the first one we did was a live kayak tour at Point Lobos State Natural Reserve, which is in Monterey Bay. And we
Okay.
had that tens of thousands, of participants.
How
Um,
did you get the word out so quickly? Or do you think people knew and then just hadn't figured out like how to use it? Like what was that? How did you
yeah,
get so many so fast?
Yeah, so we had hundreds of programs scheduled already on these one-to-one calls,
Uh
and so we let our teacher community know. We have a social media presence, and
huh.
we put it out there.
Yeah.
California State Parks, which has a very big web presence in general,
Mm-hmm.
or digital footprint, if you will, right? They said, hey, want to learn from home, so that went out to hundreds of thousands of people.
Wow.
And then I think just like some of that internet magic happened, and
Yeah.
like somebody started a group on Facebook of like learning resources at home. Somebody put it there, and yeah, it just like took off from there. And then after that evolutionary event, we grew pretty rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
We evolved quickly, if you will, and so we just continued doing these live broadcasts because the one-to-one calls really became like kind of valued and really like sought after by educators, and that's still
Yeah.
true to this day.
Yeah.
The ports program this school year will reach about 250,000, mostly California
Gosh.
public school students. Um,
That is
who, yeah,
incredible.
yeah, through
So,
through through 3 or 4 thousand individual like presentations.
wow.
Yeah, so that's what and they're connections, right? They're conversations,
Right.
whether it's one on one or one to many. We are trying to foster conversation and
Mm.
foster thought and careful consideration about what it is that we're presenting, whether it's, like I said, the redwood forest or a California mission or the vast desert of Anza Borrego.
Right.
And all of it ends with a go explore more,
Yeah.
go visit your parks, because a lot of the kids that we talk to are nowhere near the park that
Right.
they're actually talking to.
Yeah.
And and the reality is, in California with 6 million public school students, the vast majority of them will not visit a redwood forest
Mm.
as a part of their learning experience. They're going to learn
Mm-hmm.
about it somehow. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have a
Mm-hmm.
creative teacher that helps them learn about it. But we think one of the best ways to learn about it is to actually put the live human expert, the ranger, in front of those students
Yeah.
and foster as much conversation as possible.
And they do such a good job, Brad. Like,
Thank you.
I have had the pleasure of working with your interpreters a few times, and I just like they just exude passion for their work. Like, and I think what's also really special is you have an opportunity for every interpreter to kind of like be good at what they want to be good at. Like there are some that are just like, nope, I want to be in front of the camera. I like that's my jam. Or
Yeah.
others that are like, no, I'm really comfortable doing this stuff in person with
Yep.
kids. Or
Yep.
others that are like, my part is I really want to connect with the teacher beforehand, or like it's just so like the group is really dynamic, and I think you do a really good job of like giving them the space to be good at that, good at what they want to be good at, and then I think that's what brings like such a high quality to what you all offer, and authenticity,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you really do like you are literally like connecting over distance and devices your learners to spaces in ways that I don't see anyone else doing, and you're doing it with the care and the love of individuals that are like that believe in it,
Yeah.
and that mirror matched with the teacher who's like I believe in it too, and I want to bring my kids to it. Like it is like this the most symbiotic beautiful
Yeah.
like marriage of a project to watch. Um and I guess like I I don't know. I think we've talked so much about like connections technology, like using the technology to foster that, and you're in a space in which I don't think anybody would have naturally placed technology in California state parks, like because it's such like a it's such a in it has a reputation of being like, no, you must be there in person, and yet you're bringing so many people to that. So how is it that you like work with your interpreters to get them to that place? Like how do you prepare them to do that? Because teachers, I think, could learn so much from that, and I think interpreters can learn from teachers. And so I'm
Yeah.
like curious to know how you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do is we try to like uh, remind them that, they are helping teachers succeed
Mm-hmm.
and students succeed. Right. So, and I think, we need to go back to the people that are doing this job really are passionate about what they do. They're passionate about the communication of it. They're passionate about sharing their passion for a particular resource, whether it's a natural resource or a cultural resource, or just the stories or the culture itself, right? So thank you for recognizing that, because
Yeah.
that is really important. That when you're passionate about it and you want to get the word out, um, these are the folks. And what we're doing is we're just giving them the 21st century tools for what we've always been doing in a park service or a park system, which is you came to visit and I'm going to help inspire you. Nature will inspire you too, but I'm going to help to interpret that and enlighten you a little bit on the unseen, if you will,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And what we do, and I have to say, I have a team of 4 or 5 people at any given time that are the folks that are like out there doing the training and working one to one with up to 100 people that give these programs. But they, what we do is we just try to empower them with the best tools possible,
yeah.
right? And that's like live video, became the thing for us, because it's like, hey, this, you use the word authenticity, authentic, right? Like this is an authentic experience. We have a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos on there,
Right.
but they don't get a lot of views because
Oh, interesting.
I think people want the live experience, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm sure there's research done about what plays well. And, there was a
Mm-hmm.
point in the internet where live was king, right?
Yeah.
Or in charge. Um, but so we continue to try to just at least filter out all the noise of these digital tools, and we
Yeah.
combine with what educators are already using, so that it's easy for the educator, because we don't want to make this hard for educators, right?
I love it.
um, because we want to help them teach, we don't want to be a barrier, right? And that's what we've kind of come up with. It's this recipe, this soup, if you will, that it's just there's a place on the internet you can go, ports.parks.ca.gov, and
Yep.
there's times available. And if it's a program that's of interest to you and your students, um, whether it aligns with your content standards or whatever or not, like there's going to be somebody on the other end of that call who is going to help you learn more about that place and those stories, and make it meaningful and relevant for your students. So it's really an ongoing, it's so similar to education, right? Where teachers
Mm.
are teachers are constantly evolving, whether they like it or not. Their
Yeah.
tools are evolving, their audience is evolving. It's the same thing, just we happen to get to walk in a redwood forest or explore a tide pool or up mountaintops, and so
Okay, so how did you get to this 4 decades ago? Like
yeah.
how did you get here?
Yeah, that's a great question. There were some very forward thinking people in this department, California State Parks, who were looking for ways to increase access to, exposure to, engagement with K-12 education. They were already invested in education, in general, maybe in their personal and professional lives. Education is baked into California State Parks mission, so this was not new to us. And I think at that time there was a focus on, all right, like high need students, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
places like LA and LAUSD,
Mm-hmm.
and or super rural like Imperial Valley or
Yeah.
Central Valley, who aren't necessarily getting access to those parks because things might have been far away or it was complicated in their system, or it just kind of wasn't thought of as a resource, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody, people along the way said, well, let's try to, instead of always trying to have people come out to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we bring parks to them in the classroom? And that was the birth of Parks Online Resources for Teachers and Students. And I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, again, like there were
Yeah.
people who had forward enough thinking ideas to say, hey, there's this technology where there's live video happening on this internet thing. And what if the live video didn't look like, board members talking to investors, stakeholders, right? And and this video communication system was already being set up in school systems for a couple of different things. Like I remember in Shasta County, there was a video conferencing program run by the county office because they didn't have enough math teachers to go out to the very rural
Mm-hmm.
parts of Shasta County at the time. So
Yep.
they had, one, I don't know if it was algebra or calculus teacher, but kids in a school could call in to the
Mm-hmm.
county office and they would get their math lesson, right? And so like we had seen some of those things. We also knew that like superintendents had it in their office so that they could, not travel to the district office or stuff like that.
Right.
So we repurposed the technology, right? For student engagement and for student good, right? And there's dozens of things that have followed the same trajectory, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a business need for this, but
Mm-hmm.
we're using it like for like the actual like what we think is like a really good thing. Um, I always forget to tell people everything we do is completely free. Like
Oh
there's
my
no
God,
charge.
right. We didn't even
Yeah.
talk about that.
and,
Side note.
yes, I know. Totally completely free, right? Because recognizing again that like
Oh my
that
gosh.
field trips are costly, and
Yes.
budgets are never getting better, especially for field trips. At least in the, like I said, since last century, they're not getting any better. So like everything we
No.
do is completely free. So and that really comes down to that we need strong, deep partnerships and relationships with schools,
Right.
school
Right.
districts, with nonprofits like our nonprofit Parks California, with local nonprofits that support parks and say, oh, wow, this is a way that we can increase K-12 access. How do we support the local staff and the local schools to make this happen?
Right.
And then, of course, we actually also have corporate sponsors and partners in Zoom video communications, which actually provides us all the tools and services that we need to do this. So it's an amazing recipe, and it's
I
been, yeah.
totally. And I just think it like, I mean, so much about what we've explored on this series is connections. And I feel like what Ports, it's kind of like a micro study of like the power of, um, talent, interest, and resources mixed with like a real need and desire to partner and connect with other people and offer it without the barrier of cost. And it's so hard, like for me as somebody who's been in education for 23 years, I've seen it from the nonprofit side, from the private school, from the public school, from the charter, from the for-profit side, and it's like I look at what you do, what you lead with your team, and just like it's so hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that it even exists, because it
Yeah.
like bucks the system on every
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. 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 It does. And that's that's us. I mean, we're
Totally.
we're leading edge on all of these
Hmm.
things. Like like I for a while there, I mean, there's some incredible uses of educational technology, but I just really it felt like, and still do, that this is one of the greatest uses of educational
I
technology.
totally agree.
Um, and others are doing it, like others are trying it, but we're a state park system, right? This is
Hmm.
your state parks. These are state parks that have been set aside to tell these stories.
Mm.
Educators are
Mm.
required or inspired to tell these stories, to their students who are
Yeah.
California residents, right? So like these resources that we're telling the stories about really are inherent to those Californians, right? The
Yeah.
future generations of Californians, right? And so
Yes.
like I often like I go back to like when I went to school in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
There were posters on the wall of the local, like, visit this historic site. And that teacher either went there over the summer and
Right.
put the poster and put it on the wall,
Right.
or they wrote away for a free poster or whatever, put it on the
Yep.
wall.
Yep.
And really, this is what we're doing. Like we're the 21st century poster, right? Like now it's the
Oh.
and then there's the human aspect of it, right? Which is
Right.
the incredible person on the other end of the call that we still get we still get letters and
Yeah.
emails and Canva sites and Padlets of like, thank you, Ranger Lily, for walking us through the sequoias,
Of
and
course.
the incredible opportunity to be on a kayak, and how awesome was it that we learned about gray whales, and just like all of these things are just like so Californian.
I know.
uh, and so like it's been great, and I'm not saying any other state couldn't do it. National
Sure.
Parks does it as well, but they're big and
Yeah.
decentralized. We are
Yeah.
fortunate enough, I think, in California to again, like, part of the recipe is being allowed to try these things, right? And we
Yes.
have great support inside California State Parks, inside all the other organizations around us in the state system. Recently, we've been honored to be working with Jennifer Siebel Newsom on outdoors access for all opportunities and
Love it.
initiatives. And it's just been really, really cool. And it's also great to know that people are recognizing that this is a way that we can do things.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, there's so many things. First of all, yes, I guess any state could do this, but there is something, I mean, I'm a California girl, so this could just be my perspective, but I think I think the way in which your team honors like the indigenous community and really respects the land and really hones in on that piece is very unique and empowering for all participants, whether they realize it or not. And I would say like that, that's something that I think is is forward and important to keep in mind as well. And then I also, as I'm like listening to you talk, I want to go put on my, and I've said this before, I want to put on my Oculus headset and I just want to
Yeah.
be in a park with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
coming? Like, can we do that one
Yeah.
day? Is
Yeah.
that, woo!
Yeah. 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 Well,
That would
we
be
already,
dreamy.
yeah, we already have some of it, some version of it that's
Yeah,
probably not as top notch as it could be now. And what we're doing now may not be great, 9 months from now. But yeah,
sure, sure.
absolutely. I think that, I still think, especially for K-12 education, that immersive experiences, AR, VR,
Yeah,
XR, however you want to
yeah,
position it, I think that there's still a lot of value in that. I don't mean like the gamified,
Right.
like cartoonized, but like we have the technology. We did a live virtual reality headset program from Angel Island Immigration Station into a classroom.
Gosh,
I don't know, 5 years
stop.
ago or 6 years ago. And again, like I try to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening in
Hmm.
education, and I feel like immersive stuff, AR, VR, XR, is maybe taking a backseat to AI
I
right
agree.
now.
I
But
agree.
yeah, but I still think that there's something there because the immersive experiences can really bring people closer to those resources, right?
Hmm.
One of the
Hmm.
things we really try to do with ports is not only reduce like the logistical barriers of being able to connect with a park, making it
Hmm.
easy for teachers to connect with us, but also those actual barriers, right? Like, so like, you know, we talk about the underwater world of, the Marine Protected Areas Network here in California, but like, it's great if you can stand on the shoreline, even if you're at the park, right? And stand on the
Hmm.
shoreline and say, there's all this amazing stuff happening down there.
Yeah.
10 years ago, we developed ways to do live underwater dive videos. So we actually do that at least once a year where we're diving underwater doing a live program. So there's that. But then how can you take that and scale that up and
Yeah.
make it sustainable? Because diving is not sustainable. Like, you can't have people just diving all the time doing stuff live. But like, can you create live or can you create underwater VR and
Yes.
really put people in there? Yeah. And so we're
That's
we're
cool.
experimenting with all of that stuff. Because I think it's important to again remove that distance, right? That
Yeah.
barrier, and say,
Yeah.
well, let's put you actually in here for inspiration, for learning, for curiosity, all
Yes.
those things that I think that a younger generation is expecting out of
Yeah.
how do I learn about this, right? The engagement
Yes.
with the content. Again, like, live being one thing, but also then immersive being another thing. And then
Yeah.
eventually, I think it's going to be live immersive. So,
That would be so wild.
yeah,
I can't
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
You I think you really like your job. I've known
I
you
do.
for like almost 10 years and you're always like happy to talk about this. Like that's
Yeah,
so great.
yeah. It's passion. I think you
Yeah.
talked about it before. I've been again lucky enough to experiment and to try new things, take calculated risks, and that brings me joy, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that what I do and what we do in the ports program is unique anywhere in the country, maybe in the world, especially for a government system.
Yeah.
Uh, to really be looking at the most innovative ways to provide access in the 21st century. But yeah, it's the enthusiasm and the enjoyment comes from, yeah, it's working, man. Like this is
I
like a
know.
no brainer. Like this, like 250,000 kids are gonna see and experience
So
a
crazy.
park, and one of our expert staff members, and now like we even try to back that up with, hey, if you live close to a park, we'll take you on a field trip to that park. And we've created the
Oh,
newest thing that
right.
we've created is called blended access. So like which lends
Oh,
itself from blended learning, right? This
yeah.
idea of digital experiences and digital learning combined with group work and presentations and all this stuff. So we do that, but we call it blended access, where there's a live ports program, and then there's an in-person experience, mostly with that person that was on TV with them. So there's this incredible, like,
Wow.
this ready set group of students who are like, hey, I already know you, we learned a little bit about this, let's go, right?
So cool.
Where, you know like it or not, I think some teachers and students in particular they're not ready for a field trip, so maybe the learning isn't happening as quickly as
Yeah.
you'd like. When they show up, they're not sure if they're safe in nature, and they're not sure if
Yep.
they're safe in an old building. They're not
That makes,
sure if they're safe because they've left their community, right?
yeah.
So we're using
Wow.
those things, and we call it blended access. And the idea is at the end of that, there's some sort of other digital follow-up, whether they create artifacts of learning or they contact back to us and tell us what they learned. So it creates this deeper relationship at the core with that park and that park staff member, so that maybe that kind of continues on down the road in their learning journey or that teacher's teaching journey, to remind them that parks they exist to help them, their students learn and be inspired.
I always have this feeling after we talk about this stuff of like, I would love to be back in the classroom and be able to like do this with kids, with human kids, and like see them go,
Yeah. Yeah.
that feeling, because
Yeah.
I know it happens. And what was awesome was we were at the Spring Q conference a couple years ago, and you guys Ports partnered with Ann Cosma for her keynote, and there was a live in the field interpreter experience happening for, I don't know, 6,000 teachers.
Yeah. The most we've
It
ever
was,
seen. Yeah.
oh my God, it was
Yeah.
so cool. And all I could think of, I was mapping, and I was like, okay, so if there's 6,000 educators and they each have roughly 30 to 50 teacher or students that they work with.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the reach
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah.
And
That was fun to do. And I think it's
that
probably
so
was its
fun.
first of its kind, I think, especially
Yeah.
for Q, which again is a huge partner for us in California, because they have the network of educators who get it, right? They see that and they go, oh, I get this. This, I can do this.
Right.
And actually, and they're working with us hand on hand on the blended access field trip things too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it's been incredible to work with them, to work with organizations that are teachers that are focused in this area of education technology, or just innovative teachers, or like teachers that are, I think, open to the what should be and could be the best new ways to learn. Of course, there's a lot of noise out there, right? And I think but I think that teachers, especially the Q teachers, Q now known as Cali, are out there. They're sniffing out the like, oh, all right, yeah, I get it. I can see how this works in my environment. But that was a fun thing, and it really does help feed back into the passion, right? That to be able to put state parks and our programs in front of 4,000 teachers, again, to remind them, hey, you don't need to live next to Lake Tahoe to take your kids to Lake Tahoe. Like, we have somebody standing on the shore of Lake Tahoe talking about water clarity. Like, how cool is that? So,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
You have such a cool job. I'm so jealous. And I admire the work you do, because you do it really well. And I will say that I feel like I'm going to go back through this and collect all the resources you were just talking about, and I'll make sure to put them in the show notes, because I feel like part of what we can do too is like amplify the resources, but also connect teachers to the community, because they do have such a really beautiful, vibrant community. So we'll do it. We'll get it all in there. And I am always grateful to have time with you, and always love highlighting the work that Ports does, because I think it, like I said, it just, it is the case study that is, it's what happens when people decide to connect authentically with each other, all for the good of students. And that's exactly what, we've been talking about for months here on the bridge. So
and recognizing that educators are continuously under stress and under resourced and overtaxed. The Ports program and California state parks in general, we are working very hard to remove the barriers, remove the hurdles to getting back to even, to real field trips, or access to curriculum and resources that will be helpful to them for their students. So it's been a pleasure to chat with you. It's always inspirational. And likewise, I admire the work of every teacher everywhere, because, they're the connector, they're the conduit. And I think now more than ever, in the 21st century, we have the opportunity to connect teachers outside of the classroom walls, right? And there
Yeah,
are resources available to them, not only us, but there's just tons of
so
stuff. And
much.
I, just to remind them that they're not alone and that there's
Hmm.
people there to help them and there's organizations there to help them for their students, to help teach the tough subjects and have the conversations and create the network. So we appreciate you putting that all out there in the show notes. And I'd love to chat with anybody else, who wants to talk about this kind of
Love
stuff because
it.
it is a passion of mine.
Oh my God, you're the best, Brad. Thank
Oh,
you as
thank you.
always. Until next time, my friend.